Okay. Welcome. Happy New Year, everybody. This is our first all hands meeting for 2022, and we're excited that you're here. These are meetings for all the members of the hubs, for the members, the team leaders, and the mentors. So I'm so excited you're all here. We've got some business. This is our agenda. We've got some business, and then we will hear updates from the hubs, and then we will launch our second skills training. Today, we will focus on Brene Brown and leadership regarding looking at leadership and change making as teens and looking at it through the lens of Brene Brown's work on vulnerability. And then at the end, we'll announce the Hubster of the Month award. Okay, so looks like Gabriella's having a hard time here. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, I want to introduce new folks and give you an update on our interns. So first of all, I can't see, I need to be able to see everybody with the recording. There must be a way I can see folks, like all I can see is the, okay, maybe I'll just do that. Okay, I can't see folks, but at any rate, is there anybody new? I want to, is Jessica here? I can't see anybody.
I am. Hello.
Okay. Jessica is our new mentor for our mental health hub. Jessica, just 20 seconds. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What do you do?
Sure. It's so great to meet you all. I'm Jessica Mark. I work in communications, largely for nonprofits and philanthropies that focus on public health and including mental health. So I'm really excited to support the Mental Health Hub, and I'm in Rockville, Maryland.
And our team leader, Akash, is from Rockville, Maryland. So that's so cool. Okay, welcome, Jessica. Any other new folks? Again, I can't see, so maybe some of you can help me. Okay. And remind me later, Alexis, to figure out how to present where I can also see people. So we have some updates on interns. We hired 2 interns, Rebecca to help us with our SDG hubs, replacing Alicia, and also Allison to help us with fundraising. Both of them had big issues in their families that have caused them to not be able to start with us. So I want you just to know that we're working on finding an SDG hub intern. I'm hoping it will be Rebecca and she'll come back in a couple weeks. It may not be, so we put the word out we're looking at hiring again as a backup. And until the end of January, Alicia has agreed to stay on with us, which I'm so happy about. Alicia, are you here?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alicia. So that's on the SDG Hub front. Alexis is working with us on the Plastics Hub. She's also helping us with partnerships and working. Fenna is leading our strategic planning, and Alexis and I and others are supporting her in that. And Alexis is also helping us with our TeenStream video competition, which I'm going to move to next. Are there any other intern updates? Carolina is still our social media intern. I think that's it. Okay. TeenStream video contest. This year, we are going to work harder, even harder than last year, to try to get the submitters that submit to TeenStream to become active in our hubs. And so we're looking at this as a big recruitment focus for the hubs. And so this year we're going to ask all our submitters to not only submit their video and be judged by our team of judges. By the way, we are still looking for a few more judges. So if any of you are interested, Alex Trapanese, who heads up our climate hub, is a judge. If any of you are interested, please let me know soon. It's about a 5-hour commitment twice in February. So it's a 4 or 5 hour commitment in 2 weeks on your own time. But what we're going to do this year is also ask all of our submitters to come into a hub room and to share their video. And we'll probably do that very late in January, early February. So Alexis and I are putting together a plan with Carolina to organize that. And so you will have assigned to your hub some teens that come in. And the goal here is for them to not only present their video, but hopefully be really excited about your hub and become a member of your hub. So I'd like to get any questions from you guys now on that, and I'll be sending out more information about that in the coming weeks. Any questions?
Linda, this is Julie. Just one question. So these, it won't just be the winners, but it'll also be the submitters who will join the hub and show us their videos?
Yes. So what we're trying to do is have all submitters come into the hubs as a way to measure their commitment and motivation to being a change maker. And so we're both trying to, you know, we give out $5,000 a year to our video contest winners, which is $500 to each team that wins, 10 winners. And that's a lot of money for the collab. So we don't want to just be passing out money to teens. We want to make sure that those teens are committed to being change makers, and we want them active in our hubs. So how do we get them active in the hubs? Well, we want them to come into each hub. And so those that do come in will get extra points for coming into our room when the judges will meet and review them as they always do. But the winners will not be getting, we won't be selecting winners that do not come into our rooms. So you can make a great video, but if you choose not to come into a room, you won't be a winner. Because we're trying to find change makers, and we're going to make that really clear to them. So they'll have 2 weeks to spend 10 minutes to come into a room. But we're trying to link the video contest more directly with the hubs. And we're trying to say to all the submitters that, you know, we want you involved in the hubs. You don't have to be involved long-term, but we want you at a minimum to spend 15 minutes and come into a hub meeting, which I'm sure all of them can do. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. That's very helpful.
And Julie's been very involved in our judging on TeenStream, so she knows about that. Any other questions? And we can talk about this later in your hub meetings. Moving right along, strategic planning. I'm going to ask, well, let's see, maybe I did the intern update. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so Fenna, do you want to explain this really quick? I think we shared this last month, but I'm just going to share it again because it's part of our, we have a board meeting on February 5th, and Fenna is designing a strategic plan for the collab for the board meeting, which we will also be sharing with all of you. And the strategic plan is looking forward at how can we do better recruitment. And so we're like got the video contest here, working with the hubs more directly. We're starting school clubs as a way to get more teens into our hubs and get more action going. We're trying to create leadership skills, which we're integrating into each monthly all hands meeting. We're trying to focus more on education. Fenna, do you want to add to that?
I think you summarized it really well. Just on the right-hand side, you can see that there's some benefits. So everything that we're doing, all of our deliverables, kind of how that benefits our teachers and mentors, the teachers who are involved, mentors in the hubs, as well as the students who are involved, so the hubsters. And at the bottom, we have some information about the various communication channels that we use, whether that's for external or internal use.
Yeah, and we're trying to really increase our strategic partnerships and, of course, our funding. What I want you to do, Fenna, is can you take this one pager and put it in the chat? And then what I'd like is for all of you to look at this and send us updates. Like, hey, here's a hub project you didn't think of, or here's a benefit that I get out of this that you haven't put up. So please help us. This isn't, you know, this is a living document, okay? So this is our strategic planning. Let's see, is there anything more on updates from the collab? I do want to say that some of you know Thomas. I don't know if Thomas is here. But Thomas is interested in starting a hub for students in Greece. So if any of you have friends in Greece that are students, get in touch with Thomas on Slack. But he's looking at that, just like we have a Turkish speaking hub. And okay, I know there are other updates. Alexis, Fenna, Carolina. Carolina, do you want to share a quick update? Carolina on social media next month, our social media, our skills training will be on social media, and Carolina will be leading that. And Carolina, can you just share really briefly what we discussed with Alexis today about transitioning social media?
Yes, ma'am. So we are planning on, as many of you know, we have 2 social media Instagram accounts, and one is for Global Collab Network, and then the other is for Teens Dream. And it's always been kind of complicated. So we're going to merge the 2 accounts so that we only are actively posting on the Global Collab Network account. So if you are following Teens Dream and not Global Collab Network, please go follow at Global Collab Network, so you'll see all of our latest posts, because Teens Dream will become inactive, so that we have just one active account that we're doing all of our work on and posting on to make it less complicated. And then, as always, if you're working on a hub project, please send me just send me a little description on it and tell me a little bit about it, so I can post it and share that update, because that always helps out a lot. And thank you so much.
Okay, and next month I'd like us to do an update on the digital books, because we've been asking you all, and I think the Wildlife Hub and a few other hubs might be starting this. And I don't know if Grace is here. I think she is.
Yep, I'm here. Hello.
Grace. So Grace is going to be helping us lead this with our Arts Hub. And Sumaya's here, I think. So let's put that off till next month, but I'd like to have us focus in our updates on that next month. And before we leave today, we'll have a date for next month. So I want you to all go back to your hubs and encourage everyone in your hub to make sure to try to come to these weekly or monthly meetings. Okay, and we are recording, so we will share this recording with all the hubs as well. We're running a little late, so let's do a 1-minute update from each hub. And why don't we start with the Arts Hub?
I can give you an update. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear you a little bit.
Okay. So the Arts Hub has been going through a little lull phase. We are actually trying to find new members for the hub. So we've been in touch with Mula from Turkey, and she's trying to help us get some teams. But right now, it's just been me and the hub. So I'm just right now working on recruiting teams.
And I think the digital book is a great project for the Arts Hub to help lead. So I'll be working with Sumaya and others and Grace on that. But if any of you know artists that would like to be involved in the Arts Hub, please send them our way. Okay, who's next on our list? Alexis, can you help me with the list? I can't see it because I'm.
Sure. Yeah. So next on the list is plastics. Sarah, go ahead.
Okay. So the Plastics Hub, we successfully finished setting up our reusable takeout pilot, which is called Glowbox, with our mentor Lara. And that project was to reduce the amount of single-use plastics and styrofoam in the DMV area. But since that project is pretty much finished for now, we're kind of in between projects, and we're looking to restructure the hub and get some new leadership in and also start some new projects. So we don't have any current updates for the moment, but we are working hard to get the hub all up and running. And so it's ready for our next batch of leadership when they come in.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, next, Alexis.
Yes, sorry, I keep trying to unmute myself. That is gender.
Hi. I'm Fatima. I'm one of the mentors of the Gender Hub with Julie. Julie, you can always jump in too, because I know you've been to a lot of the meetings. So from what I understand, the Gender Hub is working closely with Sude to work on a Turkish gender equality club in a way. And it has like a lot of members. I think they have like around 40 members. And so we're kind of collaborating with them. And then I know that Sude and the Gender Equality Hub are also working on like building our podcast Overheard. And so they're going to have a couple episodes in Turkish, I believe. I think that's the language. And then we're also working on building our own podcast.
Great. Anything else, Julie, you want to add? Nope. Okay.
No, that was it. Great. Thanks, Fatima. And Sude can also give us some details maybe when she talks on our Turkish hub. So yes.
Okay, Alexis, I'm counting on you to run us through the list.
The next one is Spanish speaking.
Okay, I will share on their behalf. Brianda, the mentor, isn't here, but we have Gabby here as a member. Gabby, no sé si quieres saludar, but she's here, and we've been working on Gabby has a few projects that she's been working on. She's working on a video for, it's a school project, but it's a mental health video. So it'll all be in Spanish, and we're in the research process and kind of just summarizing some topics that we want to include in the video. And then also we are working on an education workshop and like why sustainable education is important in high schools. So we're working, it's just Gabby, Brianda, and I in the room, and we're working really hard, and we're still kind of just getting our mission written out and the objectives and what we hope to get out of that workshop.
Thank you, Alicia. Wildlife?
So the Wildlife Hub has continued working on our beekeeping in the Hunger Hub's community garden to promote pollinator conservation. But since it's the winter, we're kind of slowing down on that specific project for the time being, but we do hope to start up again next year. And then we also have a podcast series called Conservation Conversations. So make sure to check that out on Spotify or any other podcast platform. And we finished our episode with Grace, which is super exciting. She's an amazing speaker and we loved working with her. And then Ankita can finish off with the updates. And also shout out to our member, Danny, for coming to this one.
Yes, thank you, Danny, for coming. So thank you, Sarah. We kind of have a few updates for future projects. So we have a partnership with African Wildlife Foundation, and we're possibly collaborating with them on their biodiversity classrooms in Africa for African youth. So we just met with Edwin, which is one of their representatives last week. So we're kind of following up with them. We also have a project that Danny introduced to us, which is kind of helping an organization called Wildlife Watch Kenya. So we're kind of helping them with data collection from their cameras in reserves in Kenya, tracking giraffes. So one of the ways we're planning to help them is identifying giraffes from the photos they capture, which will help them study giraffe migration patterns and also identifying individual giraffes. So that's kind of our update with our future projects.
That's fabulous, you guys. Danielle, do you want to add anything?
We're also working on a webinar in January for our poaching research paper. And I think that's everything. Yeah.
Danielle, I just want to say to all the teens, we're trying to get more members of the hubs into this all hands. And so I want to applaud you and Gabriella and Lily and the other teens that are here. Thank you for coming and help us spread the word. We want all the members of the hubs to come. So I just want to shout out to you guys. Okay, Danielle's in Atlanta, Georgia area. Okay, next, Alexis.
Okay, so Zero Hunger.
I think, Christy, are you the one here?
I might be the only one here from the Hunger Hub. As far as what's been going on in the Arlington Community Garden, we winterized the garden in the last month. We put up a hoop house, and Carol, who is one of the other mentors, went by to make sure that it made it through the snow that we recently had in the Washington, D.C. area and further winterize it. So we should have crops ready to pick when it warms up just a little bit. That we winterized one of the beds. I think there's some other projects going on as well, and the hub is looking for new leadership for turning over, since we've got a couple seniors that have been more active in the past year, and we need to be able to continue the activity in the next year.
Thanks, Christy. Christy's a mentor with the Hunger Hub. Sarah, you've been involved in the Hunger Hub. Is there any, are you at any updates from your perspective? Okay. Yes, we do need to. Yosif, who heads the Hunger Hub with Becca, he is also working with Herman to start a club. And I'll just add that Sude, when you give your Turkish Hub update, I want you to mention the club, okay? So Alexis, who's next?
That's mental health.
Cool. Over the past month, we focused on leadership, since we've had a lot more members joining and quite a bit of our members also leaving, because a lot of them are juniors, seniors, going through college, that kind of stuff. So a lot of education, how to lead a meeting, how to write notes, how to do kind of the basic stuff. So that way, we created this leadership rotation cycle. So that way we give the opportunity to other members to lead the meeting. So basically it's just getting set for the start of this year, where we can basically start making projects, and we're about to publish our episode 4 of our podcast.
That's awesome.
And also thank you so much, Jessica, for attending the meeting as our new mentor.
Yeah, we're super excited about Jessica. She'll be joining Ryan, which is your other mentor.
Yep.
Jessica. Okay. So next, Alexis.
Climate action.
Climate.
All right. Hey, everyone. Shout out to Alex for being here, and Lily for being here, and Grace for being here. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anyone. I hope not. But yeah, we're working on a lot of different projects. We're currently working on continuing to pump out episodes for our Green Teens podcast, which you can find on Spotify. And that's been a really fun project, just so that each different member can kind of lead a little mini project. And so we've really been enjoying making those podcasts. And we're working on the eco-anxiety webinar, which we've been working on for a long time, but we finally found a new speaker, since our other speakers and panelists fell through. But we found a psychologist that specializes in like climate action, in eco-anxiety. And so we're very excited about that one. And then we've also looked into lobbying, and we attended a meeting with a lobbying group where we can, as a hub, we're going to go to a lobbying training where we can learn how to lobby. And then we're discussing lobbying to each person's local representative about carbon pricing, or going to more local, like school board meetings, to talk about climate education and lobby for that. So those are 2 other exciting projects that we're working on. But yeah, we would always love if you want to join us. And thank you.
Oh, wait, one more thing. You have Jim, his book.
Oh, yes. And we had a great conversation with Jim Anderson about his book, Good Enough for Climate. And so that was really fun, because we kind of talked about like Earth optimism and not succumbing to like despair from the climate crisis. And so that also ties into eco-anxiety, just having like a positive outlook on climate change. And so that was a really interesting conversation, and
then also Grace's new book.
Yes, and Grace just published her book, her children's book, Perry and Friends, about climate change. And I think she put a link in everyone's Slack channel. So please go check that out, because we'd love to support her with her book. And it's really amazing. And we're proud of her for publishing that and getting that out there.
Okay, so Grace, first of all, everybody, if you go into Slack, you can see the book, and it's only 99 cents to download it. And I've done that, and it's darling. So I want everybody to at least see where it is. And if you can download it, great, and share it with others. I would like Grace for next, and please help me remember this, Alexis, next month's all hands meeting, when we do the digital book, I want Grace to share. Oh, good. Jessica is going to get it for her 4 and 7-year-olds. Perfect. Grace, I want you, maybe Grace, you can put the links in the chat for the book.
Yeah, I just did that.
Okay, Grace is one of our winners of the Teens Dream video competition. We gave her $500, and she used the money to hire an illustrator to help with the book, and she's using the money to help her promote the book. And she's just like amazing. So I'm really excited about her work with us, and we want to help her promote the book. So I want to say that our Climate Hub, I'm really hoping, Carolina, that we can get our Arlington County climate people in our county, since Jim is in this county and we have a number of teens in this county, that we can work with them to engage teens in Arlington County and of course across the world to help us with this SDG book, look at promoting Grace's book in our elementary schools, and then also help us promote Jim's book and others, you know, use the books as an opportunity. Jim's book is all about what can you do. So, okay, moving on to the next, we have, I think, racial justice, Turkish, and is there one more?
Yep, exactly. Racial justice, Turkish, education.
Okay, Akshat.
All right, so for the Racial Justice Hub, recently we decided to table our implicit bias workshop for right now, since we believe that reached the level it needed to. And apart from that, we've started to refocus on other projects. Recently, I think we were working on our list of resources on how to essentially contribute or make an impact in terms of racial justice, how to truly fight for equality in the modern world, and just how to educate yourself better on such matters. So we were working on that with our mentor Erkan, who unfortunately couldn't be here. And yeah, right now we just had a break for Christmas and winter, but right now when we come back, I believe that we're going to continue focusing on that as well.
Thank you, Akshat. Akshat, you've been such a great leader. Akshat's in UAE, and so he comes to us at late at night. So thank you, Akshat. And like the Racial Justice Hub, a lot of our hubs are sort of like going through transitions. There was the holidays for many of us. A lot of the teens are moving on and applying to colleges. So we are really working in a transition phase right now. So I really appreciate all of you hanging in there and helping us grow the hubs. And again, for those of you heading up to college, remember, we're trying to start clubs in colleges. So think about that, okay? So today, last and final.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I hope your 2022 is great. And actually, updates is I opened a club in my school, and now we have a 45 new member. Everybody is high school students, and they are very happy. They are very exciting, and they want to make new things in this club. And now we have a 3 active projects, maybe more. I don't know if they're working on personal. So I'm trying to encourage them. One of them is racial justice presentation. They are making a presentation about racial justice in Turkey, and they will present to the high school students and secondary school students. And other things, we are trying to make new podcast episodes for Overheard, and we will talk about gender issues in Turkey. And some of them try to make an interview with our teachers and students about gender issues and something like that. They are talking and they are making interview, and it's very great video. I will send you when it's finished. And other thing is we are making a climate changing presentation too, but we want to make this presentation for the kindergarten students and middle school students. So maybe we can encourage them about this problem. And I'm really want to happy if we translate Grace's book. Maybe we can read for the kindergarten students. So it can be great too if she wants. Okay, so great. And that's all actually.
That's a lot, Suday. That's great. So Suday, are you working with the Racial Justice Hub on the racial justice front?
Actually, we can't make a project and we can't make with meeting with them, but did you send a presentation about workshop? Do you remember?
Yeah, the implicit bias workshop.
Yeah, and my friends try to translate it, and they are at some new things. So maybe if they want, we can make a meeting with them, and I can invite my friends too.
Yeah, Akshat, can you work with Suday on that? Okay, good. I like the thumbs up. Okay, we're going to head on. We're about 6 minutes late. So Alexis, do you want to start the project, the training?
Sure.
Oh, I was going to just kind of say a few words. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are very aware in our feedback from all the teens in the hubs that one of the things that the teens always say that they get from their experience with the hubs is greater self-confidence. And I think that's probably one of the most important things as a person that you can get, whether it's in any part of your life, but in your work world. And certainly if you're working to be a leader and a change maker, you know, building up your own self-confidence is critical. As you look at leadership and how you work to learn to be a leader, one of the things that's really important is learning to be empathetic and to listen. And Brené Brown has researched these issues for over 20 years and has one of the top 5 TED Talks in the world. And I'm going to ask if somebody can put the TED Talk, Brené Brown TED Talk, it's 20 minutes. And I'm going to ask all of you to please make a commitment to watch that in your free time if you haven't watched it. It's amazing. And her work is all about vulnerability. So Alexis has found a couple videos that are shorter than 20 minutes that we're gonna watch together today, and then we're gonna talk about it. We've got about 20 minutes left. So that's what our focus is right now for this skills training. So with that background, thank you very much, Alicia. Why don't you go ahead, Alexis, and kick it off?
So if I could have, so I'm gonna have you share your screen, or I guess I could, it's just my computer.
Okay, I can share my screen.
Okay, and then just click on, the first video is a 3-minute video of Brené Brown, who is a researcher and made her breakthrough doing that TED Talk that Alicia sent on vulnerability and the power of it. And she is a psychotherapist, but does more research. And so the first one is her on 60 Minutes, where she really breaks down what it is, because I feel like people hear the word vulnerability and they think, oh, I have to cry. And she's like, no. So there we go. So
you are a woman who is a VP, senior VP, director, CEO, or company founder, and you work in a high.
There we go.
In order for transformation to happen, in order for there to be success by any metric, money, stock price, market share, whatever your metric is, you can't get there without brave leaders and courageous cultures.
You can teach courage.
Oh, you can absolutely teach courage. 4 skill sets. Number 1 being vulnerability.
I bet you that not too many years ago, if you had corporate leaders talking about their vulnerability in the office place, they'd have been laughed out of the office.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still the case in some places. It's just, if you're at the top of a Fortune 500 company and your success metric depends on creativity and innovation, and you've set up a culture where vulnerability is seen as weakness, don't expect great results.
Don't expect the creativity.
No, because I mean, innovation by definition is idea, iteration, failure, iteration, failure, iteration. Places where they're doing the most remarkable kind of high risk, high reward, innovating, huge tolerances for vulnerability. And so if you have leaders who are either preaching a gospel of vulnerability as weakness or modeling that, just don't expect great things.
You have said that vulnerability without boundaries is not vulnerability.
Mm-mm.
What do you mean by that? I'm not sure I understand.
When I go work with organizations, sometimes I'll hear someone say something like, how often should I cry in front of my team? And I'm like, oh my God, like, that's not what I'm saying. Vulnerability is not about, self-disclosure. Like, I know leaders who never cry, who are very vulnerable and transparent. And I know leaders who cry all the time, who are just BSers. You know, like, and there, if there's, you know, vulnerability is great. Faux vulnerability or like fake vulnerability, because it seems to be vulnerability seems to be a thing right now. That pisses people off.
So you're not advocating for people to just put it all out there.
I'm saying, all I'm saying about vulnerability is that when you are in uncertainty, when you feel at risk, when you feel exposed, don't tap out. Stay brave, stay uncomfortable, stay in the cringy moment, lean into the hard conversation, and keep leading. Stay brave. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you need to overshare. I'm not saying you need to disclose. I'm not saying you need to weep uncontrollably to show how human you are. I'm saying try to be aware of your armor. And when you feel vulnerable, try not to transform up. Try to stay human, keep leaning. Very different things.
Okay. Oh, and then the second video is like a shortened version of her TED Talk. So she kind of digs a little deeper into vulnerability and courage and how necessary it is for, I mean, frankly, I think everyone in whatever profession you go into, but especially activists, because you're going to be having those uncomfortable conversations and you're going to be leading people. Yep. And so this one's about like 6 minutes.
Okay. Thanks for the patience here in figuring this out. You might have to listen to some.
We think about vulnerability as a dark emotion. You know, there are a lot of people who talk about positive emotions, negative emotions, dark emotions, light emotions. We think of vulnerability as a dark emotion. We think of it as the core of fear and shame and grief and disappointment, uncertainty, things that we do not want to feel, right? Things that I don't want to be vulnerable because that means I'm afraid. That means I'm uncertain. That means I'm at risk. I'm exposed. I'm in grief. So what we do is we armor up and we say, I do not want to slip into these dark emotions. I will not let myself be vulnerable. But here's what I learned from the research and certainly put into motion in my own life that was the most life-changing, is that vulnerability is the center of difficult emotion. But it's also the birthplace of every positive emotion that we need in our lives. Love, belonging, joy, empathy. How many of you would agree that we're in a serious empathy deficit in our culture today? Totally, right? No vulnerability, no empathy. In a culture where people are afraid to be vulnerable, you can't have empathy. You know, empathy is not a default response. If you share something with me that's difficult, in order for me to be truly empathic, I have to step into what you're feeling. And that's vulnerable. So there can be no empathy without vulnerability. Why do you think, in that example that I used a while ago, daughter comes home and says, you know, tears, no one sat with me at lunch today. They made fun of what I was wearing. So-and-so won't talk to me. They poured my books out of my locker. And the response back is, I told you, I bought you all those cute jeans. Why aren't you wearing those jeans? And pull your hair back. Is that an empathic response? No, it's a shaming response. Could that shaming response be at that? Could a mother who absolutely adores her child respond with that shaming response? Please say yes. Don't kid yourself. I mean, come on. If you're a parent sitting in here, then you sure as hell know the answer to that is yes. But why? Why did that happen? Where was the access to vulnerability? Where was empathy? You can't access empathy if you're not willing to be vulnerable. So if my daughter comes home and tells that to me, guess what I have to do? I have to reactivate that sweaty palmed 7th grader who lives inside me. And I have to go, oh, that's so hard. I'm so sorry. That's happened to me. That's happened to me when I was in middle school, and it's happened to me last week. Let's talk about it. But you can't get there without vulnerability. You can't fake empathy. Innovation and creativity, born of vulnerability. This is my favorite part. I talked about this, and I did another TED Talk this year in Long Beach. And I told the story that during 2011 and even this year, after the big TEDx Houston talk went viral, the big calls came from Fortune 500 companies. Oh my God, we loved your TED Talk. It was great. Please come talk to all of our senior leaders. And it's like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Like, we don't care. Just come and talk to us. Just if you could ixnay the shame and vulnerability talk. Every single conversation, barring maybe 10%. I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, we love, you're funny. You have this great research. I think there's a real fit with what we do. We don't really do, that kind of stuff around here. So if you could not mention vulnerability and shame. So just for fun, for grins, I would say, okay, so what would you like me to talk about? Yeah. Fourth quarter earnings, like freaking don't even balance my checkbook. I'm not going to talk about that. So what do you want me to talk about? Well, the big issue, creativity and innovation. And change. We're going through a lot of change. Like, okay, so vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, change. And the reason that crisis is happening is because you're not talking about vulnerability. Imagine creativity and innovation without vulnerability. I'm asking you for a work product that has never been made before, that's completely innovative. I need you to be creative, and I need you to present it to a group of people who are half of them are going to think it's stupid and not understand it. No vulnerability there.
Sweet.
I'm going to make a bold statement and say that doing a TEDx talk is going to be the most transformative.
Okay, I should have stopped it.
So now Fenna and I worked on questions to kind of get a little discussion going. She is going to run a Mentimeter something board, Mentimeter. So I'm going to let Fenna take it from here.
Yeah, Linda, could you make me a co-host so I can share my screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
You are a co-host.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, first of all, while you're starting, Fenna, just can I ask, have any of you heard of Brene Brown or watched any of her work? Julie, Jessica, anybody else? Alex? Okay, so, Alicia, Akshat, Sarah, okay, Alexis, okay, Christy, okay, so I was just curious. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, sorry, it's taking me a minute. So you should all see here, there's a code at the top, so you can just go to menti.com and then add the code. And then we can get started with this first question.
Can you put the code, the link to the organization and the code in the chat?
Yes, 1 second.
And I am trying to figure out where you sign up for Mentimeter because it's not clear on the website.
You can go to the menti.com and then you add the code that's at the top of the screen, which I'll also put in the chat.
Okay, I'm at mentimeter.com, but I don't see where to put the code. Maybe I'll put some.
think there's just a box.
Okay, here I have. Okay. Maybe somebody, could you just share your screen and show? I'm just having a hard time finding it. So let me, is everybody else finding it?
Yeah, I didn't have to sign up. If I just went to www.menti.com and then it just had enter code.
Oh, mine says there's not even a code. It just says, what does vulnerability mean to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then that's the right.
So you're already in, Linda.
Okay, sorry, I just wasn't sure how to get there. Okay.
No worries. So just what this question means to you, can add some words. You can add up to 3 words and they're gonna pop up here in a little word cloud. And then maybe we can have some people share why you put down the word that you did. But we'll give you all a second to kind of submit.
And I would like to suggest that you can use more than just one word, like a couple words is okay.
Yeah. Has everyone submitted? Gonna assume that's a yes. Okay, so we have a lot of different answers here. These are very good. Would anyone like to share why you put down the word or the statement on what vulnerability means to you? Maybe just 1 or 2 of you. We don't need to have a super long discussion.
I put the word, I think, honest, because for me, I thought, like, after watching the video and just in general, that vulnerability means, in a sense, not having to be completely open, but in that sense, being genuine with what your vision, what your plan is, or what you're doing, essentially.
Yeah, I like vulnerability, or I guess the idea of it, or just being vulnerable, because I think it leads to connection. I think when you can give someone that safe space to know that you're not going to retreat, or you can actually hear, you know, their story or how they're feeling, and maybe it's criticism to, you know, what you've done or what you've said. Maybe you've hurt them in the past. I think being able to be vulnerable and lean into those uncomfortable conversations garners connection.
Yeah, and we kind of see that with some of the words that were put down, things like being genuine, having empathy, being really honest, being open, taking risks. I think that's really interesting that we have meaningful risks and risk. That those are some of the words that you came up with. So I'm gonna try to go to the second question. So bear with me.
Wait, before you do that, I'm gonna just add non-judgmental. I think being okay, feeling like you're in a safe space so that you're not going to be judged. I just wanted to add that.
Okay, you should be able to answer the second question now, which is, why is vulnerability important for leadership? So it's the same setup. You can just put down a word or statement that you think of based on this question. So same deal with this. Maybe one or two of you could just talk about why you put down the words that you put down. Again, I think it's really interesting, some of the words that we have here about transparency, friendship. What does that mean when you're in a position of quote unquote power? Being creative, fostering creativity, allowing risk taking. I think we see a lot of similarities from the first slide. But does anyone want to elaborate on their answer?
I can elaborate. So I put in safe space, and I just think, you know, I've worked in places where, and a safe space, again, doesn't have to be this whole like you, like Brene Brown said, like, oh, you have to cry or whatever. Like, no, you don't have to share your whole life story, but just feeling safe enough to share your ideas and not be mocked for sharing ideas. And maybe the idea you come up with in, for example, one meeting is not, you know, can be saved for another project. So I just think continuously sharing and learning from one another happens when you're vulnerable and you allow for open dialogue in a safe space.
I just want to add on to what Alexis was saying. For my word, I put transformation of culture, because I think like being vulnerable for change makers and activists, it's important that we know how to facilitate sustained dialogue, which kind of allows us to transform the culture of a place if we're able to transform the relationships between people. And something that Brene Brown touched upon was, you know, vulnerability is not, you know, being able to cry in front of people or being, you know, doing that. I think sharing vulnerability on purpose to take meaningful risks with integrity is different than just spilling over yourself and not being able to hold your own emotions. Because for leadership and change makers and activists, we're trying to kind of facilitate this safe space and have a productive and sustained dialogue. And that's a really important quality for any leader and change maker.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really, really good answer. I think culture can either you have a culture which really allows you to feel like you can be really vulnerable, or you don't, and that can sometimes be really challenging. And this kind of fits well into our next question that we have, which isn't a word bubble question, so you don't have to type anything in. It's just a discussion point about when do you feel the most vulnerable. So I'm intrigued as to what you all, or when you all feel the most vulnerable or are in a culture that you feel safe in to be vulnerable.
And we'll wrap this up in a minute, but this is a good question. Thank you, Fenna.
This is our last question. So.
Yeah, I think I feel the most open and vulnerable with my family because I've spent so much time with them and just them because I've moved a lot, and when I didn't have friends, I always have my family with me. So I think, like always, I know them the best and I feel the most comfortable around them.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I think it's also like I have it with some friend groups where you just feel really comfortable and being yourself. And sometimes you also have that with colleagues and people that you work with, where you know that you can say something without being judged, or that they're really open to listening. And I think that that means that you feel like you can be more vulnerable in those situations. Does anyone else have an answer? I don't want to take up too much time because we're already 2 minutes over.
I'll just quickly say, I think the nice thing about vulnerability is that vulnerability begets vulnerability. So it kind of, in some situations, takes one person to give a little bit of that, and then you start to feel more comfortable giving it back, whether it's a leader or whoever else.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Fenna. This was a really great overview. Thank you, Alexis, for putting that together and for helping with the agenda. This is a fabulous meeting. I'm aware we're 3 minutes over, so I would like to get a group photo. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you for listening.